So the goal here is to figure out a sustainable way to cook our food out here in the middle of nowhere in Alaska. And as you can see here, we've settled on alder. And alder, there's a lot of it here. And I had to do some clearing for the land a couple years ago anyway, so I had a lot of the dry alder. I'm using the smaller stuff just like this. Kind of think of that as a charcoal briquette. And then I'm also using a chimney starter. This is some of the bigger stuff that I had from the fire. I just pulled it out, and that made it into, take them out as coals. It basically makes charcoal. And then I just dump them into this paint can here, and that snuffs them out very quickly. But that's these two here I'm not really talking about right now. Right now we're talking about using this alder here that I've cut in about 1 inch by, let's call it 3-inch pieces. And I use it in a Weber grill. And as you can see, there's no way to go to the store here. We're out in the middle of nowhere. You can tell as I've got an electric bear fence, and we're living in a van down by the river. So what we do here, you can see what we had last night. This is kind of leftover that we snuffed out just by closing all the vents. Just to let you know, if you're using this alder like this, it really needs a little bit more oxygen than regular briquettes. The good thing is though that once you shut down the bottom vent down here and then the top vent here, if you shut those off, then it'll stop cooking just like these did here. So I'll be able to reuse those. Really the way to run this is once they're flaming, and you'll see later they flame up quite a bit. For us to keep them going, this has to be open, the bottom has to be open, and then you crack the lid very slightly, and that will keep them going as basically looking like charcoal briquettes as opposed to having outward flame. Now there's always that concern about having too much smoke taste. If you're using a covered kettle Weber like this and using real hardwood, we have not seen that to be a problem with alder. It really tastes great. In fact, that's what the natives used in Alaska to smoke salmon, and since we have so much of it, we're going to be using it. So the small pieces go in that bucket, and then we'll throw them in the chimney starter on top of that old charcoal that I had from our campfire. And then we'll be making, later on I'll be making sausage just to keep it simple. I do have a regular fire that sits over here, and that's where I made the other charcoal pieces. And I will get back to you once we get this thing fired up. So here we are, we've got a bunch of charcoal that I made in the fire, so not Kingsford or any charcoal like that, but sitting there in the bottom of the chimney starter. And I'm going to fire this thing up. I've done it plenty of times with just the raw alder wood, which is what you see right here. That's just alder wood right off the, that's been dry for about a season or so, but basically right off the tree. But that lights just fine on its own. So it's got 2 pieces of newspaper right down here. Starts up like a dream. Okay, just started it. The newspaper is going. I guess it would probably take about 5 to 10 minutes before this thing's ready to dump out. And then what I'll do is I'll take some more of these raw ones and just dump them right on top. Well, it was almost smokeless when it was just after the newspaper burned. Then it went to the charcoal, which is above it, and it was almost smokeless at that point. Now it's starting to catch the raw stuff on top, so we're starting to get a lot of smoke. And that's pretty normal. This is going to be a pretty smoky affair, which is good because it tastes great. Obviously you don't want to do this with most softwoods. I'm not even doing with cottonwood. I'll make charcoal out of cottonwood, but I sure as hell wouldn't want to smoke with it. So alder is a known smoking wood. That's good. Maple, if you're in a place that uses maple, obviously oak, mesquite, any of those are good. Out here, alder is what we have, so tastes great anyway. So as you can see, it's starting to light up. I'm going to go ahead and dump it out right on the lower grill there, and then I'm going to put some of the raw stuff on top. Here's a mixture now of raw stuff and some of that homemade charcoal I made. As you can see, I've dumped it off to one side. It is obviously quite flaming up, but that's okay, because once I close this lid, it's going to squelch it very, very quickly. And if you were going to be doing, let's say, a steak or something along those lines, then you probably want to just let it sit for a little bit, let those flames die down, the volatiles will go away, and then it'll be much more like regular charcoal at that point. But I don't need to worry about those flames because I'm going to be putting the lid on. I put on my sweet potatoes. since that's going to take the longest. Also, if you look right in the middle of the grill, underneath the grate, you'll see that I threw a red onion in there, right on the embers. Technique I learned from Steve Reichling's book. I think it was Primal Grill, or one of the How to Grill, I think it's called. And it talks about a South American technique where you put root vegetables right onto the embers, and then I'll turn it in 15 minutes or so. Probably be in there for a total of 40 minutes, and they came out really well. Sweet potatoes, beets, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on and try to squelch that fire. So with the lid on, as you can see, there's quite a bit of smoke coming off. And what I've done here, you can probably see a little bit of flame going through there, but in about 30 seconds, even that small amount of flame will be out. What I'll do as soon as it is out, I'll just slightly crack this, about that, not even that much, just enough so a little bit more air gets in there than you normally would with, let's say, charcoal briquettes. And then I'm going to kick back and enjoy. So here I've had it shut down for about 5 minutes or so. I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and you'll see that there won't be any open flame, and then pretty quickly it'll come in. You can see my sweet potatoes have all gotten a little bit brown from the smoke, and there's that open flame I was telling you about. It doesn't take very long. Just going to flip these over. Luckily I'm wearing Nomex gloves for mosquitoes in this case, and still getting pretty hot in there. As you can see, the flame is starting. I'm going to whip it back on there. That'll be out in 20 seconds or less. And it continues. Okay, this will be the final opening. I threw a couple sausages on there because this is day 13 of a 13 or 14-day camping trip, and I'm pretty much out of food. So sausage it is. You can see my onion, I flipped that over once, and then I've got my sweet potatoes are all ready to go. And all this stuff here, believe it or not, can be, I will snuff it out as soon as we're done with the camera. I'm going to go ahead and snuff that out just by closing these and also the ones underneath here, and then that will be charcoal essentially for the next day. Works out like a charm. Hope you learned something.